Imagine Earth millions of years ago. A wild world full of dangers. Amidst countless massive predators, a miraculous creature appeared. They did not have sharp claws, nor did they possess unmatched strength. But they possessed an invaluable weapon. That was a powerful will to survive. We're talking about Homo erectus, the first humans to stand upright on Earth. Their footsteps changed history, opening the first chapter for humanity today. Let's travel back in time to explore the great journey of our ancestors. The story begins in the African savannas, where sunlight scorched every path. Climate change caused green forests to shrink, forcing our ancestors to step down onto the ground. Standing upright was not easy at all, but it brought immense advantages. Their vision was extended further, helping them detect enemies from afar early on. Most importantly, their hands were freed. Hands no longer used for climbing, now free to hold, grasp, and create. The first steps were quite unsteady, but it was a giant leap in evolution. They began to observe the world around them through a completely new lens. Curiosity stimulated brain development. They realized they needed to adapt to avoid being eliminated in the wild nature. Life at first was extremely harsh. Food was the top concern every day. They gathered what nature bestowed, from sweet fruits high up to roots deep in the ground. But that source of nutrition was not enough to nourish a growing brain. They began to crave new sources of protein. Hunting became a core survival skill. But how to defeat wild beasts when they held no natural weapons in their hands? The answer lay in intelligence. They looked at the stones beneath their feet, and a bold idea flashed. They picked up the stones and struck them hard against each other. The first sharp flakes were born. This was the first technological revolution. That was how the stone hand axe appeared. A rudimentary tool, but it changed everything. Now they could easily cut meat and defend themselves against the fangs and claws of wild beasts. Hunting was no longer an impossible feat. They stalked and coordinated with one another, bringing down prey many times larger than themselves. In abundant foods also brought new vitality. Their bodies gradually became lean and resilient. Their posture grew straighter and more stable. Yet nature still harbored many fears. Cold nights filled with countless dangers. The roaring of predators in the darkness was always a haunting nightmare for the ancient humans. Until a fateful day arrived. A bolt of lightning split the stormy sky. Fire erupted from a dry tree trunk. At first, it was absolute terror. Every creature fled in panic. But Homo erectus stopped to observe. They felt the warmth radiating outward. They saw the darkness push far back. A brave decision was made. They stepped closer and kept the fire. That was the moment that changed their destiny. Mankind officially mastered fire. Fire became a great companion, helping to drive away the most ferocious beasts, bringing light to pitch-black nights, and warming freezing winter days. Even better, they tried putting meat into the fire. A rich aroma spread through the air. The food became tender and easier to digest, helping the body maximize nutrient absorption. The digestive system shrank, making room for the brain. The brain of Homo erectus developed leaps and bounds. Their thinking became sharper and keener. Fire was also a place to connect people. After a hard and exhausting day of hunting, they gathered around the flickering fire, sharing food and keeping each other warm. The first babbling sounds echoed. Those were the seeds of primitive language. Understanding and bonding gradually formed. They realized the power of solidarity. A lone individual would easily fall, but a collective would be invincible. The concept of the tribe and family was born. Together, they cared for the children and protected the elderly and weak in the group. Silent love began to blossom, creating an invisible spiritual strength. Over time, the number of members increased. The surrounding food sources gradually depleted. The instinct for survival urged them to move. The distant horizon was beckoning. Tireless footsteps set out on the road. They began a great migration journey, leaving behind their familiar African homeland, heading towards completely new lands. They crossed arid deserts, overcame perilous and high mountain ranges, faced harsh climate patterns, from the scorching heat of the tropics to the bone-chilling cold of the north. But nothing could stop their footsteps. Wherever they went, they adapted. They set foot on the vast land of Asia, then continued to venture deep into ancient Europe. Their presence covered the globe. Homo erectus became true conquerors, with an adaptability far superior to any other species. Each new land presented a new challenge, requiring them to continuously improve their tools. They knew how to use animal bones as sewing needles, knew how to piece animal skins together into warm clothing, knew how to build temporary huts from branches and leaves. Life gradually became more proactive than before. They were no longer completely dependent on nature. Instead, they began to reshape the world around them. Looking back at the long journey they had traveled, from weak creatures in the savannah, they had risen to the pinnacle of survival, thanks to perseverance and intelligence. Evolution did not happen in a single day. It was a persistent journey of millions of years. Each generation that passed away passed on the torch for the next generation to keep walking. Knowledge was transmitted through the years. How to make fire, how to sharpen stone, how to hunt, becoming an invaluable legacy for the future. Homo erectus lived a glorious life. They were the perfect bridge in history between ancient hominids and modern humans. Without their pioneering footsteps, our civilization today would not exist. We carried their blood within us, the blood of brave conquerors, always curious and never backing down. Let us cherish this great journey, a journey from darkness into light, from the initial rudimentary stone tools to spacecraft flying into the vast universe. It all started with a single upright posture, from a gaze looking out into the distance. The story of Homo erectus is a great lesson about the power of faith and adaptation. No matter how difficult, there is always a way out, as long as we constantly strive to rise. This documentary concludes here, but their fire will burn forever in the heart of every human of today's generation. Keep walking with pride, to be worthy of our ancestors, the first humans to stand tall and proud. Thank you for listening to the story. A story about our origins, about the great journey of humanity. Please share this meaningful lesson to together cherish the value of life and add motivation for the future ahead. This world still has many things to explore, just as our ancestors once did in the past. Go to know, go to grow wiser. Stand tall and look ahead. Difficulties are only tests of perseverance. You are the result of evolution, a perfect masterpiece of nature. Live a truly brilliant life, like the first fire in the wild night. Always warm, illuminating, and full of hope. Wishing you steady steps on the path of life. See you again in future journeys, where we will together explore the mysteries of history, science, and this life. Goodbye and see you again. Always maintain the Homo erectus spirit. Strong, resilient, and full of aspiration. That is the key to opening every door of success and sustainable development. Once again, goodbye, and wish you a wonderful day. Please spread this meaningful message to everyone around you, so we can all be proud of our origins and have more faith and love in life.